Do you realize I could still book tons of speaking opportunities? I could totally go travel and speak like I used to. I could say all the right things and continue to get the same result, which is hype. Have you so amped up you will have thought I put an IV of Rockstar straight into your bloodstream? An adrenaline shot right to the heart. And you're too late. You give love. I'm just kidding. Half you're like, whoa, wait a second, that happened too fast. What did he just do? He just transitioned. That was way too quick. My little warrior posse over here is like, we totally knew where he was going with that one. We were already singing it in our minds before he did it. Okay. So here's the game we're going to move to then. The game we're going to move to is the conversation of being a victim. Okay? So let's go around. We're going to round robin tournament this on victim. What's your name, bro?
Brian.
I like you. You clean up well.
Thank you.
Not that you didn't look good yesterday. I just like you. You look good today. Good stuff. Ryan, what does it mean to be a victim?
Maybe to believe that everybody's looking against, all things are looking against you.
Okay, got it. So we're going to put this up here. So to be a victim is, all things are against me.
Blame.
Powerless.
Blame. Go ahead and shout them out. Powerless.
No control.
No control. What else?
Not fair.
Say again?
Not fair.
Not fair.
Excuses.
Excuses.
Self-pity. Resentment.
Self-pity. Resentment. What else?
Feeling bad.
Lies.
Feeling bad. And what do we call feeling bad?
Guilt.
Yeah, guilt.
Damaged.
Damaged. Okay, what else? Jeff, what's another one, buddy? What's it like? What does it feel like? What are the words that come to your mind when you hear the idea of victim?
Picked on.
Say it again?
Picked on.
Picked on. Okay, great. Picked on. Bruce, what about you?
I can't do this.
Can't.
Fall guy.
Fall guy.
Sucks.
Denies everything.
Sucks.
Stagnant. Denial.
Stagnant. Denial. Okay, what else?
Used.
Used. That's a great one.
Abused.
Abused. You say addict? Addict. Yeah, I got some good
Threatened.
experience with that one. Huh?
Threatened.
Threatened.
You think you're innocent.
Unmisunderstood.
Innocent. Misunderstood.
Your fault.
Unloved.
I was looking for a lifeline.
Okay. Looking outside. Okay, cool. Here's a question. How many of you have experienced somebody in your life in the last 7 days who's shown up at all like this? Raise your hand. Okay, cool. And how many of you know that at some point in your life you've shown up that same way? And likely that's been in the last 24 hours. Okay, good. So let's ask a question. What's it like to be around somebody who shows up as a victim? What do you think?
What was it like to show up
When you're around somebody who's in this place, denial, everything's against them, powerless, misused, no control, unfairness, no self-pity. What's it like to be in the experience of another person who's in that state of I'm a victim?
What's it like to be with them?
Yeah, what's it like for you when you're with somebody that's like that?
Like they're immovable.
Immovable. Okay, what else? What else is it like?
Draining.
What else?
Depressing.
Depressing.
They just suck the life.
Life suckers. Yeah, my friend calls them the energy vampires. Right? Okay, what else?
It's uncomfortable. You don't want to be around someone in that state.
How many of you felt uncomfortable around somebody who's in victimhood? Yeah, and you know the only reason you'd feel comfortable in that space is because you're just waiting for the opportunity for you to what? Be able to share your victim story. Here's what victims attract. Victims attract more victims. They build what we call toxic tribes. It happens in organizations all the time. People don't want to be accountable for their results. So what do? Particularly in multi-level marketing. They begin to gather around the water coolers. They gather in the organizations. They show up to everything, but they don't show up. They come with the pure intent inside to be virus. They're cancerous. Victims themselves put off an energy that is magnetizing to those who choose to be victims. The people who are victims cling to victims. That's why you very rarely see them alone. When I go out to lunch with the people that fall in that category with them. Now, the toughest thing in the world is to leave a toxic tribe of victimhood. Because in a victim tribe, nobody's actually listening to you. Do you get this? Or they're not listening to you. Like I used to have friends like this, and myself. After my divorce, my wife and I have been married for 18 months. The day before we got married, my wife handed me the ring and said, I don't know if I love you enough to marry you, but you go ahead and decide. And I was like, wow. Okay, cool, so let's get married. Not the smartest guy you've ever met, I guess, right? As if there could be an even more bolder sign, right? I don't know if I love you enough. Here's the ring, but I'm not powerful enough to have dropped out of this relationship, so you just go ahead and decide. And I sat there, and I wasn't powerful enough to do anything about it either. So what ended up happening? We ended up getting divorced, and we had a son, my son Parker, who I have almost no relationship right now. Like, I'm probably closer to that little princess, little baby out there than I am to my son. I don't hardly ever see him. He lives in Canada. My ex-wife been married and remarried multiple times, has 5 different kids with 4 different men, and is in a totally different experience. And my son and I have no relationship. He's in a totally different country. Total bummer. Like, super bummer for me. The crazy thing is I remember driving away from the house we lived in Canada. I was playing football up there, and I drove away from the house up there. And my ex-wife, Christy, was standing in the doorway, and she was crying, and I was crying, and my little son, who was 9 months old, was propped up against the door. And he wasn't saying anything. He was just propped up against the see-through glass door at the house. And I threw all my clothes in the back of my car, my little 1989 Dodge Spirit, and I drove all the way from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, to my parents' house in Brigham City, Utah. And I cried the entire way. And for the next 3 weeks, I sat in my basement, my parents' house. I'd been an alcoholic for years. I'd had all kinds of stuff going on for me in my life, cancer. I'd lost all my teeth. You want to see something cool? You don't see this every day either. Ready? You like that? Surely, I get to hang out with some of the people just a bit older than you, right? We totally bond. I go to the senior center. We compare denture cleaning supplies. It's fantastic. I'm the youngest guy you've ever seen with a denture. The most embarrassing thing in the world was when it fell out on the floor in a restaurant one time. I was like, wow, that's probably not the coolest thing that could have happened as a single guy on a date. Wow. Got it. So I'm sitting in this space in my house. I'm in the basement of my parents' house. I am totally broke. I am totally destitute. And that whole time I'm sitting there with a bottle in one hand and I'm saying, okay, I either can go back to what was, or I can do something different. And for 2.5 weeks of that 3 weeks, I sat and I drank my sorrows, and I was a what? An addict, which you got on there, which is one of our descriptions of a victim, powerless. That's why the first step in recovery from addiction is to admit that your life is what? Powerless, yeah, that's the words I was using too. Right? You're totally jacked, and in that space, you're like, okay, I give up, I surrender. And I was at choice, right, in that place. And in the place of surrender, I got to choice, and thank God that light showed up in my life. Because otherwise, I couldn't be in this space. Yet, Leah gives me so much compassion for people who've been in that space. And I totally get why people judge that space who haven't ever experienced it. Like, I get that. I get people who grow up in the situation that was way maybe more comfortable by their choices than what I chose. Yet what I've come to experience is it's oftentimes that comfort is the greatest challenge that they face. Because there's not extreme contrast in their life, hence they're lukewarm. They're not hot or cold, they're just lukewarm. They go through the motions. It's almost a tragedy to watch it, and you cannot get them out of their patterns unless something traumatic happens to them. Loss of a loved one, death, etc. So I'm sitting in that space and I was at choice, but I was doing the best job. For the next 2 years, if I saw anyone who was engaged or getting married, I would vomit. I'm not like pretending like I was sort of like ha-ha joking vomit. I would have to